Shalom. First and foremost, I want to begin by giving all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shah, Bahashem, Rachak Wadash. Double honors to the apostles and the elders of the great millstone who taught me this truth, and much respect to the Akim out there laboring in his work. Peace and salutation to the hopefully elect who are scattered abroad at USA. Shalom. You know, the one thing that solidifies if an individual was divinely inspired by the Most High is the words in which he spoke and declared on the behalf of the Most High, which is, of course, prophecy, which means to say before. So when these things do come to pass, it pretty much validates that the Lord was dealing with that individual the whole time. And another thing about prophecy is that it shuts up the mouth of the unbelievers out there, the naysayers who thought otherwise. All right. So right now, what we're seeing in the earth as we approach the end of society is the Lord beginning to validate the men in which he sent, as we're seeing the steps being laid out that are leading up to this great hour of temptation, in which we firmly say that that great hour of temptation is going to be when the microchip is mandated. And so what you're seeing right here is the beginning stages of it. And it's going to be worldwide, man. So the People's Voice, it says, Vietnam erases 86 million bank accounts of non-compliant citizens who refuse digital ID. So just within that right there, you can see the temptation behind having to submit your digital ID in order to get your bank account back. Because that right there entails, people's livelihood. So you just wake up one morning, your bank account, all your funds, your money has been wiped out. And they say, well, if you want to get this back, you got to submit your biometrics. So you see the temptation behind that. And while we constantly speak about in Revelation how there's going to be an hour of great temptation. And, right now, yes, a digital ID, but eventually that's going to be incorporated into a charagma, a chip, as conditions continually get worse and worse. So again, this is the Lord signifying and confirming the word of his servant. As you read in the book of Proverbs, I think 4:18, it speaks about their light. All right, the path of the just will shine more and more into the perfect day, because this truth that we have is becoming more and more clear. So let's get this real quick. Isaiah 44. And we can start at verse 25. That frustrated the tokens of the liars. You got a lot of fake Israelite camps out here who are seeing these things, and they're trying to backtrack and retrace their steps to make it look like, we was probably talking about that the whole time. Like Nate said, yeah, they could throw a microchip in there because the evidence is pretty much overwhelming of what these devils are doing with the CBDCs, the central banking digital currency that they're trying to put forth. And this right here that we're about to go into is being made clear that this is where everything is headed towards. So people being frustrated, false prophets, false believers, they're sitting back like, could Great Millstone possibly be right? Could the Lord really be dealing with them? They're frustrated the tokens of the liars and make a diviners mad, foolish. They turn a wise man backward and make their knowledge foolish. False doctrine gets confounded by prophecy, man. You see? So the Lord's confounding your favorite camp leader to where they're looking like fools in that breakdown. And they're going to have their congregation asking like, well, you're saying that the mark of the beast is philosophy or an embargo, but it just doesn't make sense. Especially seeing everything that's happening right now. When they get to snatching bank accounts and saying you got to take an ID to get it back, you're going to have some people really asking questions like, what the hell is really going on? And you got to have the answers. And if they find out that you don't got the answer, what are they going to do? They're going to come after you, man. It says, 26, that confirmeth the word of his servant. See, the Lord is confirming the word of his servant, because what we speak is not our words. All right, this is the counsel of Yahweh by Shemel Shah, and he told us from our apostles on down to warn you about the wolf that's coming, Esau with this damn chip, man. All right, because the hour of temptation is going to pretty much prove who is faithful to Yahweh Shemashah and who is not, as your life is going to be compromised on this side, and you're going to be enticed to take a chip to get it back in some shape, form, or fashion. That confirmeth the word of his servant and performeth the counsel of his messengers. All right, he's performing the counsel of his messengers, because what we're saying, he's bringing it to pass. All right, that said to Jerusalem, thou shalt be inhabited, and to the cities of Judah, ye shall be built, and I will raise up the decayed places thereof, the house of David. So yeah, the point is that the Lord's confirming the word of his servant. So when we see things like this, it gives us even more joy, you know, knowing that the Lord he's dealing with great millstone, first and foremost, and also our affiliates who teach the same exact doctrine. So again, Vietnam erases 86 million bank accounts of non-compliant citizens who refuse digital ID. So at one point, right, they refused to take or get the digital ID. So what was the consequence? You see how people are going to be seduced, enticed, tricked, and deceived into taking this man's form of salvation, and how they're going to bow down to this man that day. So yeah, Vietnam has just erased 86 million unverified bank accounts as the nation surrenders to the globalist Great Reset. The State Bank of Vietnam, SBV, has closed or frozen about 86 million bank accounts because the accounts lack the required biometric authentication, which was made mandatory through a government initiative. Then we say that this thing is going to be made mandatory. What does mandatory mean? Mandatory says to be required by law or rules. Compulsory. So you got to do this. If not, then how can you live? You see? And that's why the scripture says that the just in that day are going to have to live by faith. Now, the digital ID is not the mark of the beast, but it's a part of it. All right. That's pretty much dealing with the name, all right, of the beast, and which is all going to be incorporated within one, that chip. So it says, by forcing every account onto biometric rails and erasing inactive or unverified balances, the state is doing two things. It is tightening its digital grip and closing off unofficial channels that could otherwise move money around and out. All right. So there's a grip being put on the people. There's a squeeze pretty much. And, you know, like the elder Yahshua had went into in Luke 21 and 25. Let's get this real quick, because this is what Esau is doing on the left-hand side, putting you people into a squeeze. Luke 21 and verse 25, the return of Mashiach. So it says, and there should be signs in the sun and in the moon. You got different constellations, blood moons, eclipses, and in the stars, constellations, right? Chariot signs, and upon the earth, the stress of nations. With perplexity, all right, confusion, not knowing what to do because of the chaotic events that's going to be taking place, such as Esau drawing, you know, pausing or freezing your bank account. People losing their mind, bank runs and all this shit. It said the sea in the waves roaring, and people being in an uproar because of what this devil's going to be doing. So it says, upon the earth, the stress of nations. So let's get this word, distress, because there's an end goal to all of this, you know, pertaining to what these devils are trying to accomplish. So the stress, strong G4928, it says, and we'll go into the root word right here, strong G4912, and we'll get to the point. So definition B, it says to press on every side. All right, there's a squeeze being put on the people. It says of a besieged city, of a strait that forces a ship into a narrow channel. All right, little room to move. It says, and here's the point, of a cattle squeeze that pushing in on each side, forcing the beast into a position where it cannot move, so the farmer can administer medication. See that? So these devils are putting these people into straits by compromising their livelihood and coercing them or deceiving them into accepting his will, man. Accepting his beast system. You see? So they're putting you into a squeeze so they can administer the medication. What's going to be the solution to all these problems? It's going to be the chip. See that? That's the end goal. And it's only going to increase and get worse and worse. More of your livelihood is going to be compromised. All right. In the very near future. Now I was thinking about a precept. Let's get this real quick before we go back into the article. Let's go to 2nd Esdras 16 and I think verse 40. And this is why the Lord set up the prophets of warn. So yeah, 2nd Esdras 16 and 40. It says, "O my people, hear my word." See, by the prophets, and make you ready to that battle. That's why we warn you. And in those evils be even as pilgrims upon the earth. As you know, we begin to lose things. There's uproars of the people, the distress of the nations. It's just read. All right, we got to be as pilgrims, because this is not our rest. So he that selleth, let him be as he that selleth, let him be as he that fleeth away, and he that buyeth as one that will lose. All right, because all these things going to be compromised at the end of the day. Esau is coming for everything. He that occupy merchandise as he that hath no profit by it, and he that buildeth as he that should not dwell therein. So you get the point here. All right. All these things that we're reading about as far as your possessions are going to be used as leverage by these devils to ensnare you. All right. So we can't have the type of mindset to where, you know, we're holding on to these things, because at the end of the day, it's going to end up being a snare. So yeah, this is the point right here. This is what I want to start in verse 37. "Behold, the plagues draw nigh and are not slack, as when a woman with child in the 9th month bringeth forth a son with 2 or 3 hours of her birth. Great pains compass her womb, which pains when the child cometh forth, they slack not a moment. Even so shall not the plagues be slack to come upon the earth." And it's going to be global. "And the world, see, shall mourn, and sorrow shall come upon it on every side." All right. This devil's going to cause a complete rehaul, a chaotic rehaul of the entire system. That's going to bring sorrow and pain, suffering, death. And the solution is going to be the chip. So this is literally going into the hour of temptation, you know, that we read about. But let's go back into this article and read some more of this. So yeah, it says, "By forcing every account onto biometric rails and erasing inactive or unverified balances, the state is doing 2 things. It is tightening its digital grip and closing off unofficial channels that could otherwise move money around or out." All right. They are telling the public that this is about fighting scams, but actually the hidden function is to keep all financial flows within view and under control at a time when dollar scarcity risk, all right, is rising. So a similar move has already taken place in Thailand. So be warned, this is headed to the west. Okay, because these other places are nothing more than testing grounds for what they really want to bring to America, Babylon the Great. And so let's read some more. It says, "Anyone wishing to function in society must surrender their biometric data and maintain a bank account." All right, to maintain a bank account, the State Bank of Vietnam claims that the measure was a system cleanup aimed at preventing fraud, but in actuality, the measure is one step closer toward a national ID system that enables the government to control its citizens' every move. See that? This is the only way that they can control or have total control over the inhabitants of the earth, man. They got to bring forth the chip. You see? So this is just a precursor lead up into that. So this is a data cleansing revolution, said Pam Antoine, director of the payment department. So, quote unquote, while the total number of bank accounts remains 200 million by September 2025, once a legal framework is complete, all accounts without biometric data will be closed to prevent scams and fraud. After 7 years of promoting non-cash payments, we are moving toward real efficiency. All right. So what's going to be included into this digital ID? Let's read this last. And all this is real good, man. You know, I wish I can read the whole thing, but for the sake of time, I might read these 2 paragraphs. So it says right here, Vietnam recently implemented a nationwide ID system called VNEID that requires both citizens and foreign residents to surrender to the matrix. To surrender to the matrix and permit the government to store their personal information in a centralized database. Fingerprints, facial biometric data, photographs, passports, nationality, criminal records, and even medical records will be stored in the government database. Participation is not optional, man. It's going to be mandated. That's why the scriptures say, and he calls of all right? Small and great, rich and poor, and free and bond. So project 6, you see, that he who had wisdom count the number of the beast, you know, for it's the number of a man, which is 666. You see that 6 everywhere. Project 6, launched in January, 2022, hailed as technological revolution to digitize the country. Okay. So we can stop it right there. You know, we get the point. So this is going into the preparation, as we read previously in 2nd Esdras 16. It says, "Oh, my people, hear my word and make you ready unto the battle," because you have to forsake your life here. If you're not willing to do that spiritually, then this is going to be a snare. It's going to be a trap. All right. Let's get this. Mark 8 and verse 35. "For whosoever will save his life shall lose it." So as people submit themselves into this beast system by, submitting their biometrics and all that, and ultimately taking a chip, that's them trying to save their life. All right. So it says, and I'm not saying that we're not going to have a digital ID, but we're going to play the system until they make the chip mandatory. All right. As long as you don't take the chip, then you can finesse the system. All right. For the time being. So it says, "For whosoever will save his life shall lose it." Why? Because again, you're going to take a chip to continue your life on this side. "But whosoever shall lose his life for my sake and the gospel's, the same shall save it." All right. So those who live like pilgrims, knowing this is not their resting place, their home. All right. They're going to lean on Yahweh Shem Shai in that day as we approach again the hour of temptation. Revelation 3 and verse 10, "Because thou hast kept the word of my patience, which goes into suffering," all right, "I will also keep thee from the hour of temptation," that enticement to sin. When you go into the word, matter of fact, let's go into it. You maybe knew it, never went into this word temptation in the Greek. So Strong G 3986. It says, and we'll skip down. Well, we'll start at the top. "An experiment, attempt, trial, and a proving." This is really the Heavenly Father proving his people to see who's going to be faithful or not. It says trial, proving. All right. Skipping down to B, the trial of man's fidelity. There you go. Faithfulness, integrity, virtue, and constancy. An enticement to sin. This is going to be an enticement to take the chip once it's mandatory. Temptation, whether arising from the desires or from the outward circumstances. See? So people right now have been enticed to, obtain a digital ID because they can't access their bank accounts, man. And that's arising from the desires from the outward circumstances, dealing with your flesh. So how much more in that day when you can't do nothing without a chip? You're ousted from society, man. You can't go into these restaurants or even to the grocery store to buy food. You're going to be cast out the system. So that's what the hour of temptation consists of. All right. So going back, it says, because thou hast kept the word of my patience, I also will keep thee from the hour of temptation. All right, which shall come upon all the world. You're gonna have famines, pestilences, wars, man. Everything that can go wrong will go wrong. But for the elect, those who stuck by Yahweh by Shemashah and held onto this testimony, they're gonna have divine intervention by the angels to keep them alive in the time of all these evils, to preserve them. So it says again, which shall come upon all the world. See, orchestrating the whole entire earth to try them that dwell upon the earth. And we go into this word try also, and which is all through the spirit, man. You know, this is the Lord's doing, and he just picked us to bring out this information. As the Lord said, I will make known my words unto you. In the book of Proverbs, the first chapter, so strong, G3985. So right here in the root word, it says, through the idea of piercing. Okay? That's how you're going to be tried. Through the idea, this is Esau's idea of piercing, by making you take a chip. So let's go and get Isaiah 36 and verse 6, where it says, Lo, thou trustest in the staff of this broken reed on Egypt. And, you know, spiritually, this is talking about Egypt today. All right. So those who trust in this system, man, this broken reed that's unstable, once this system crashes and they reset everything, you're gonna be pricked by it. It's gonna go on to say, whereon if a man lean, if you lean on the system, it will go into his hand and pierce it. So is Pharaoh, king of Edom, to all that trust in him. And how do you trust in the modern day Pharaoh, Esau, Edom? Well, by trusting in this system. All right. So that's going to be a snare. That's a snare that's laid up for the inhabitants of the earth in the time of the hour of temptation. Those who lean on this system, they're going to be pricked by the chip, man. So, hey, the Lord is moving. All right. Prophecy is being fulfilled. There's a lot going on. And any day, you know, this can be your bank account. You wake up, you ain't got no funds. You don't know what to do. But for the elect's sake, we got Yahweh by Shemashah. You know, so, hey, Lord willing, you're edified. It's lucky for my voice, a little hoarse, but, you know, Lord willing, you're edified. Until next time I say, Shalom.